Look, I need to tell you about something that happened recently, and honestly, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it because the timing is just too weird to be random. You know how sometimes two things happen at once and you're like, okay, that's strange, but whatever, and then you look closer and realize it's actually kind of insane? That's exactly what's going on right now with Selena Gomez and Hailey Bieber and their beauty brands, and I promise you're going to want to hear every detail of this because it's the kind of thing that makes you wonder if someone's messing with us. Real quick though, if you're enjoying this, hit that subscribe button because there's always more drama coming and you know I'll be here to break it down for you. So here's the situation, and I'm going to lay it all out because it's actually pretty wild when you think about it. Rare Beauty, which is Selena's brand, and FEUD, which is Hailey's brand, both decided to host these big influencer trips, and not only did they happen at the same time, but they were basically identical in every way that matters. I'm talking about the same winter theme, the same aesthetic, the same types of activities, the same vibe, everything. FEUD took a bunch of creators to this gorgeous ski resort in Montana with a whole winter snow club concept going on. They had cozy cabins, branded treats everywhere, early access to new products, and just this overall luxurious mountain getaway feeling. At the exact same time, and I mean literally the same time, Rare Beauty was hosting their own group of influencers at these mountain cottages upstate for a winter launch with Ulta, and you guessed it, same cozy snowy ski trip energy. Both trips featured winter aesthetics that looked like they came straight out of a holiday movie. Both had branded esmores because apparently that's a requirement for winter influencer trips now. Both had those perfect fireside moments where everyone's wrapped in blankets, looking cozy, while sipping hot chocolate. Both gave off that same luxury snow getaway vibe that makes your Instagram followers insanely jealous. When you see the photos side by side, it's honestly kind of shocking how similar everything was, and that's exactly why people started freaking out about it. Now here's where the internet detective work kicked into high gear. People have been saying for years that Hailey copies Selena, and whether that's true or not, I'll let you decide, but this situation definitely added fuel to that fire. The timing was just too perfect, and the similarities were too obvious for people not to notice. Then the rumor started spreading that some creators were actually invited to both trips and had to choose which one to attend without making it obvious that they were picking sides. Can you even imagine being in that position? You've got invitations to both trips sitting in your inbox, and you know that no matter which one you choose, the internet is going to analyze it and make assumptions about where your loyalties lie. That's the kind of stress nobody signs up for. But hold on, because the drama doesn't stop there. There started to be whispers on TikTok that allegedly, and please understand I'm saying allegedly because I don't have any concrete proof of this, some employees might have been fired because of this whole mess. I don't know if that's actually true, or if it's just people making stuff up for engagement, but the rumor was out there, and people were running with it. The theory that really took off was that maybe employees from both brands are friends with each other, and somehow this turned into some kind of secret sabotage situation. Like, picture someone from Rare Beauty texting their buddy at FEUD asking what their winter campaign looks like, and then they coordinate to make everything match just to create chaos. It sounds like a plot from a telenovela, but people were genuinely entertaining this idea. Honestly, though, I think everyone's overthinking this by a mile, and the real answer is staring us right in the face. It's winter. That's it. When winter comes around, what does literally everyone do? You go to the mountains, you drink hot chocolate, you make esmores by the fire, you wear fuzzy boots and oversized sweaters, you watch cozy movies under blankets. These aren't revolutionary concepts that only one brand could think of. Winter is the same for everybody, and if you're running a beauty brand trying to create an experience that influencers will actually want to post about constantly, then of course you're going to use all those classic winter elements, because they work. I guarantee you that marketing teams at both companies sat down months ago in completely separate meetings and came up with nearly identical mood boards because they're all pulling from the same seasonal inspiration. Think about the logistics here for a second. These trips don't just happen overnight. You're talking about months of planning. Someone has to find and book the location. Someone has to coordinate travel for dozens of people. Someone has to plan every meal and activity. Someone has to design and produce all those custom branded items. This is a massive undertaking that requires tons of advance work, and unless we're talking about some serious James Bond level corporate espionage, I really don't think either brand was stalking the other trying to figure out their plans. They both just independently arrived at the conclusion that a winter mountain getaway would create amazing content. And you know what? They were both completely right because here we are talking about it nonstop. Now, let me tell you what actually went down at these trips because the content that came out was honestly pretty amazing. The Rare Beauty experience looked absolutely incredible from everything we saw. Each influencer got their own beautiful accommodation, which is always appreciated when you're used to sharing spaces at events. They organized these wellness activities like yoga or Pilates where everyone was stretching and trying to be healthy, even though let's be real, they were probably all thinking about the food. Speaking of which, the food looked absolutely insane in the best way possible. There were these gorgeous spreads with everything you could want. I'm talking pistachios, which by the way are ridiculously expensive these days, like have you checked the price lately? Cinnamon and fancy salts for your oatmeal, and at one point I swear I saw caviar, which is just next level. They had this beautiful ice sculpture and various drink stations that looked like they were serving bourbon or fancy iced coffee, or maybe both, I couldn't quite tell, but everything looked expensive and delicious. There were ice skating activities where everyone seemed to be having the time of their lives, even though ice skating is one of those things that looks way easier than it actually is. They did this whole apple turnover making experience where the influencers got to actually create their own pastries, and honestly, they all did pretty well considering most influencers probably don't spend a lot of time baking. The highlight though, and I cannot stress this enough, was definitely the S'more situation because they had custom Rare Beauty branded marshmallows, which is such a brilliant touch. Like, imagine roasting a marshmallow that has your brand logo on it. That's the kind of detail that makes people remember your event. They also had movie nights, and I actually called it ahead of time that they'd watch Princess Diaries, and sure enough, it was Princess Diaries 2, which honestly is the better movie anyway, because who doesn't love watching Anne Hathaway fall in love in a gorgeous European castle? The whole thing was designed to celebrate their big launch partnership with Ulta, which is a huge deal for any beauty brand, because that's massive distribution and retail presence. They also brought in partner brands like UGG to help sponsor different elements, and some people were complaining about too many brands being involved, but let me just say something about that. Do you have any idea how much money it costs to put on an event like this? You're flying out maybe 20 to 40 influencers from all over the country, or even internationally. You're putting them up in premium accommodations for multiple nights. You're feeding them elaborate gourmet meals 3 times a day plus snacks and drinks. You're providing entertainment and activities. You're giving them gift bags stuffed with full-size products. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars easily, possibly more. Of course, you need other brands to come in as partners and sponsors. That's just how business works, and it doesn't make the experience any less authentic or valuable. Over at Rhode, the situation was equally impressive from what we could see. Hailey's team clearly put just as much thought and effort into creating this Montana ski resort experience. They had that same winter wonderland aesthetic, the same type of cozy cabin vibes, the same kind of branded experiences designed to make influencers want to document every second. Both brands obviously understood exactly what they were doing when it comes to creating content that would get massive engagement, and honestly both trips looked like they were absolutely worth attending. If I had gotten an invitation to either one, I would have been thrilled, and I definitely wouldn't have been sitting around complaining about minor details. So here's what I actually think happened, and this is purely my opinion based on common sense and understanding how the industry works. Both of these brands have entire marketing departments full of talented, creative people who are all doing the same research. They're scrolling through Pinterest looking for inspiration. They're reading the same trend reports. They're analyzing what performs well on social media. They're trying to capture seasonal aesthetics that they know their audiences respond to. When you're a beauty brand planning a winter influencer trip, there's basically a proven formula that works. You need mountains, you need snow, you need cozy fires, you need hot chocolate, you need cute winter activities, you need products that look good photographed in a winter setting. It's not some complicated mystery, and it's definitely not evidence of corporate espionage involving employees from both companies. That conspiracy theory about employees coordinating everything is pretty funny to imagine though. Picture Nancy from Rare Beauty and Cynthia from Rhode having these secret meetings at some random pizza place being all mysterious about their master plan. Nancy's sneaking off to the bathroom at work to take hush phone calls where she's getting inside information from the enemy camp. They're synchronizing every detail, making sure both trips have S'mores and matching color palettes and identical itineraries, just so they can watch the internet lose its mind. Then they're arguing about who's buying lunch, and whether Cynthia's cousin visiting from out of town can tag along even though Nancy doesn't want to pay for an extra person's meal. I mean, it's entertaining as a fictional scenario, but in reality, it's just not how any of this works. What I do think deserves some attention is how both of these brands, and honestly most major beauty brands, could benefit from inviting smaller creators to events like these instead of always going with the usual influencer circuit. I'm not saying this because I'm personally upset that I wasn't there wearing Ugg boots and eating branded marshmallows while watching Princess Diaries too, although okay, maybe that's part of it. But seriously, there are so many incredibly talented creators with engaged, loyal audiences who would bring fresh energy and perspectives to these brand experiences, and they keep getting passed over for the same big names everyone already knows. That's something the entire industry could work on. This whole thing really just shows how obsessed the internet is with creating drama between Selena and Hailey no matter what either of them does. These are two successful women running separate businesses and living their own lives, but somehow everything gets twisted into being about their supposed rivalry. At this point, maybe all these weird coincidences are the universe trying to send a message. Maybe they're actually meant to be best friends and should just embrace it and do matching photo shoots or start a podcast together or something. Think about it. Justin has tattoos inspired by magazine shoots of both of them. They keep ending up in similar situations. The parallels are getting genuinely strange. And maybe instead of everyone forcing them to be enemies, they should just become friends and break the internet in a completely different way. When you actually break down how brand trip planning works, the similarities make complete sense. Both brands had budgets to work with. Both had specific goals they wanted to achieve. Both were promoting or launching products. Both wanted to create content that would perform well on social media during the winter season. Rare Beauty was celebrating this major Ulta partnership, which is genuinely huge for their brand distribution and getting their products into more retail locations nationwide. Rhode was building hype around new product launches and giving their invited guests early access, which creates buzz and makes people feel special and exclusive. These are smart strategic business decisions that just happen to use similar seasonal themes because it's winter, and there are only so many ways to execute a winter event before things start looking similar. The question we should really be asking isn't who copied who, but why are we so invested in turning everything into a competition between these two women? They both run successful companies. They both clearly understand their audiences and know how to market effectively. They both created experiences that the people who attended seemed to genuinely love based on all the positive content that got posted. The influencers made beautiful posts, they engaged authentically with the products, they helped build awareness for new launches. From a pure business standpoint, both trips accomplished exactly what they were designed to do, and the fact that they looked somewhat similar doesn't change that. I also want to point out that this kind of overlap happens constantly in the beauty industry, and nobody makes a big deal about it unless there's some personal history involved. How many brands release holiday collections with red and green packaging every single year? How many brands do summer launches with beach themes and tropical vibes? How many brands create spring collections with pastels and flowers? The answer is basically all of them, because these themes work, they resonate with customers, and they align with how people shop seasonally. But when it's Selena and Hailey, suddenly, it's this massive scandal that needs to be investigated and dissected and turned into conspiracy theories. At the end of the day, both trips looked absolutely amazing, and I'm sure everyone who got to attend had a fantastic time regardless of which brand invited them. The creators who had to choose between the two probably made their decisions based on boring practical stuff like which dates worked better with their schedule, which brand they already had an existing relationship with, what kind of content they needed to create for their own channels, or just personal preference about which opportunity felt like a better fit. I seriously doubt anyone was having some dramatic internal crisis about it like it was Sophie's choice, even though the internet tried to make it seem that way. What this whole situation actually demonstrates is that we need to let these women exist in the same space without constantly comparing them or searching for drama in places where it doesn't exist. They can both be successful at the same time. They can both make great products. And yes, they can both host winter-themed influencer trips without it being some scandal. The beauty industry is massive and there's room for multiple brands to thrive, and the sooner we stop forcing every single situation into some rivalry narrative, the healthier the whole conversation becomes. So to wrap this up and actually answer whether this was elaborate sabotage or just coincidence, I'm firmly in the coincidence camp. Mix in some standard industry practices, add a heavy dose of people reading way too much into normal business operations, and that's what we've got here. Nobody got fired, nobody was secretly plotting at pizza places, and nobody copied anyone. Two beauty brands independently decided that winter mountain trips with influencers would create excellent content, and they were both absolutely correct. The only reason this became a thing is because of who owns these brands and the internet's desperate need to create drama where there really isn't any. If you stuck with me through this whole thing, thank you so much. And please don't forget to subscribe because you know there's going to be more to discuss as this never-ending saga continues. Whatever happens next with Selena and Hailey, or more accurately, whatever the internet decides to make into a thing about Selena and Hailey, I'll be here to talk about it with you. Drop a comment and let me know what you honestly think. Was this Nancy and Cynthia plotting over pizza, or is it just two brands doing what brands do during winter? I genuinely want to hear your thoughts because something tells me we're not done talking about this anytime soon.